All right, we are recording. So the first of the disclaimers, because we're recording, if you can't be recorded, please jump off. We're going to post the link to YouTube later today, but if for any reason you can't be recorded, that's our legal disclaimer. So welcome everybody. Happy Thursday. Good morning, good afternoon if you're in the Eastern time zone or beyond. Good evening if you're somewhere around the world. Welcome to the Kansas City Virtual User Group on the 10th of December. We're so happy and grateful that you made your way here. My name is Dale Ziegler. By day, I am a senior business analyst with a consulting company called 7 Summits. Normally with me is my fearless co-leader, Jeff Berger, who is the admin at Academy Bank based here in Kansas City. He is just getting absolutely slammed with stuff. So if he joins us today, it'll be for just a little bit. So we do miss him, and if we get to see him, awesome. If not, we always send our love his way, and he'll be on the next meeting in January. But if you need to reach out to either of us for anything, this Kansas City US user at trailblazercgl.com. That goes to both of us, and we're both pretty responsive pretty quickly. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas, if you have anything that you want to reach us on, please ping us there, and we get it pretty quickly. And also, I'll be sharing this deck later, which will have the link to the email address, so you don't have to feverishly write it down right now. Second disclaimer, second warning. We are recording, so again, if you're not comfortable or permitted to be recorded, please drop. I should have this posted to our YouTube channel by end of day today, and we'll broadcast the link through the Success community, through the email channel, Twitter, LinkedIn, Carrier Pigeon, however you need to get the link to you, we'll figure out how to get it there. So if you can't stay, sorry to see you go, but we will have this recorded and the content shared for you later. Zoom etiquette. I joke that it's 2020. We all know how to use Zoom. A lot of us have been using Zoom before then. So the etiquette, we would love to hear from you when the time calls for it. But in the meantime, just mute. Just, we're all working from home. We got kids, we got pets, we got doorbells going off, Amazon dropping things off at the door, whatever it may be. Just mute if you're not speaking, please. We do have a Slack channel that's starting to get a little bit of traction. So again, that same Kansas City email address, if you want to join Slack and start some good conversations, please do. Ping us there. We'll get you added usually within a couple of hours of receiving it. Like I said, we're pretty responsive on that email queue. So if this is your first time here, either at the Kansas City user group or any user groups in general, we are part of a broader community that is the Salesforce community or the Salesforce Ohana. There's a number of different terms, but we are a very open community that in some places like ours is more of a general, everybody comes together. There are also some niche specific groups. As you can see, we have the developers, we have a women in tech group, we have the marketers for Pardot Marketing Cloud. There is space for a nonprofit group. It did unfortunately go dormant about a month ago because we lost the co-leader. So if anybody in the nonprofits, I know we have a really good nonprofit space here in Kansas City. So if you're interested in picking the ball up and being the leader, you can reach out to me or Jeff and we can get you connected, or you can reach out to Salesforce and the community team directly. Either way, if you're interested, there is definitely a need to get the nonprofit group back up and running. But in the meantime, everyone is welcome here. We are the general group. We are the user group. We're no longer the admins group. I fought hard to remove that title because we do have such a good mix of everybody here, and it's an open place for us to share and to learn and to comfortably feel uncomfortable with what we don't know and learn something. So y'all are always welcome here. The bit.ly link will get you to the general Kansas City page on the event registration site, which then you can splinter off into the specific groups from there. As for this group, so save the dates. January 12th will be Eric Dreschfield, who was with us in November. He works for Active Campaign. They will be sponsoring and doing a demo on their product. February 11th will be Corinne Walker. And then in March, Jeff and I both have some ideas of some presentations that we want to give. So It's like coin flip. It might be him. It might be me. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But save the dates for January 12th and February 11th. And the reason I haven't put the links to the registration sites yet is because we're going to try something a little bit new in 2021. Again, this is 2020. We're all sick of looking at each other through screens. We would love to be in person. We would love to have that the ability to actually communicate and network, because that's what we were doing when we were at Missouma Credit Union or American Century before that. Was we could physically go break off into our own groups and talk and actually, learn from each other. We get that we are all sick of the webinar. We're sick of the, okay, show up for a presentation and call it good. We want to bring that interactive piece back in. So we are working on starting with, and actually we're kind of starting with Stu today, and Christi, I'm sure, is going to have some Q&A as well, because their content, I can guarantee, is super phenomenal today, that we're going to have that collaboration. But starting in January, we're going to work with using the Zoom breakout room functions, so that we can either get back to the birds of a feather, the admins, the devs, the admin alibers, the marketers, the nonprofits, or maybe it's something niche or presentation specific or release, whatever. We're going to work on setting up the system of breakout rooms. And so the reason the registration links aren't out there yet is because we're going to use that registration survey to get a feel for who would be interested in what, so that we can set those rooms up. And I just haven't had time to do that yet. I'm hoping tomorrow or early next week, but that's our new format. We want to bring the collaborative piece back into it so that we can get some of that connection going again. I think we took for granted that running a user group meeting via virtual was easy. It was a little too easy, because we're losing that collaborative piece that a lot of us very desperately crave. And we hear that, we acknowledge that, and my apologies for having it take 8-9 months to realize it, but we're going to start doing it in 2021. So if you are interested in presenting, that's how we got Corinne on the list. That's how we got Daniel Malone a couple of months ago. This is a link to a speaker interest form. Anything is fair game, whether it's something cool that you built in a dev org, if it's your company's use case, if you are like super excited about maybe something in the spring 21 release and you got a preview org and, hey, look, this changed my company's life or my life or whatever, anything's fair game. Go fill out that form. We would love to have you present. We would just absolutely love that. Do we have any of the other leaders from the other groups on the call? Looking, I don't see Brian Hadaway.
Hey, Dale. Hey, it's Mike from Syracuse.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Syracuse. All right, we got the eastern, almost seaboard-ish here with us. Very nice. Always welcome. Good to see you, sir. Any other user group leaders locally or around the country or around the world? Stu?
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-leaders of the Minneapolis-St. Paul user admin / anything user group. And I just want to comment that, don't beat yourself up over lessons learned in 2020, because we actually had the same conversation. So there was just a leader forum this last week that Salesforce held to talk to community leaders about their frustrations or their successes even. And I went into a breakout room where I met with one of my own co-leaders, Allie Carsons was there. Mm-hmm. And we started chatting with other leaders around the world about some of the frustrations we were having. And this concept of collaboration and being able to meet in circles of success or birds of a feather's room. We used to do that when we were meeting locally. And now virtually we're not doing that, but Bevy has changed. They're adding those sort of things. And I know with other tools, we can do that. So we also have had that same discussion that you're just having, which is we're going to do things a little bit different in the future, where we can try and have more small groups where people can share what they're doing, be a little more local, because things have just gotten a little bit out of hand with the way that we're doing our virtual meetings. So I totally appreciate what you're saying.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you. Mike, quick 2 seconds. What's going on in the Syracuse world?
Oh, not a whole lot. We're doing a whole bunch of virtual meetings where we're getting a lot of people from other places. There's not really a huge Syracuse community, so I'm actually reaching a lot more of the global market. And we meet every couple of months.
Nice. Very cool. Well, welcome. You are welcome here anytime, my friend.
Thank you.
And spread the word. Awesome. Do we have any Salesforce employees on the call? Don't be shy. Scanning the list. I don't think I see anybody. Okay, no problem at all. All right, community resources and events. We'll run through these really quickly. MVP office hours. We normally meet on the first and third Friday of every month. Myself, Joy Shutters-Helbing from Chicago, and Squire Kirshner from Milwaukee. Any question is fair game. Any perspective is fair game. You don't have to be an MVP to answer the question. Christi and Stu, and I've seen Clayton a few times, and let's see, Todd and Mike. I know Mike Troy. I know a lot of you guys. You're out there. You're not only asking the questions, you're answering them, because it is a safe, collaborative space for everybody. As an MVP, I'm just facilitating the Zoom call. Anybody can share. It's great to hear some of the tangents that we go on. Maybe not the ones that I go on. I'm working on controlling that a little bit. But if you have an issue that's bugging you with your org, with an implementation, with Sandbox, with whatever, join us. It's first and third Friday of every month at 1 Central. These links are static, and again, sharing the deck out later with the links. So if you want to join to help out or to listen or ask questions, everybody is welcome. More than happy to have you. World tours and other events, well, they're all virtual, but for information on them, salesforce.com/events. Trailhead Live is great. It is a great way to go get access to the live webinars, but recorded ones as well if you missed it, as well as the Trailhead calendar. Community events, that's where those of us in the community put on Dreamforce-like events, but without the oversight of Salesforce. A lot of those, well, any ones that are actually able to happen are obviously happening virtually, but if we do get the world back to a place where we can be in person, all the information will be there, but anything that's happening virtually, you can get information on them here as well. There's some that are regional based, some that are topic focused, like there's a couple of career fair ones. It's any number of things. So definitely go check those out if you're looking for some events and ways to collaborate with people around the country and around the world. Go follow Daniel Karendian on the Success Community, and the link to her profile is behind here when I share this out later. She has all the information on the certification prep weeks and the certification days, which I know a number of you have greatly benefited from. It's pretty intense training followed by a pretty sweet discount on certification vouchers. So it's definitely worth your while if you're on that certification path. But maybe need some of the classroom style structure or some guidance towards some hands-on ways to learn. And then again, save a little bit of money on that certification in the end. The Trailblazer Mentorship Program, I cannot speak highly enough about this. If you are someone who is seeking a mentor, like you're getting into the Salesforce world, or you've been doing it for a few years, but are kind of wondering which way you're supposed to go, or if you're someone who's willing to give back and you want to mentor somebody, I highly, highly, highly recommend signing up for this. They will match your skill sets, your experience, regionality, any number of things. They have a pretty solid algorithm to line you up with the right people. As a mentor for a few people earlier this year, I absolutely loved it because it opened my eyes to some things that a 10-year grizzled Salesforce veteran like myself either kind of lost track of or didn't think of. So even being on the mentor side, it's incredibly worthwhile for yourself, as well as being able to pay it forward and give back. And then the idea exchange. I haven't heard anything about a new round of prioritization coming up, but definitely follow the blog. And that's your opportunity to help give back and help prioritize what the roadmap looks like. Those ideas that you're complaining have been on, they've been active for 12 years and no one's touched them. Well, okay, go be part of the process. So whenever that opens up, follow this and be part of the future. Dreamforce 2020, well, because 2020. You can go to dreamforce.com if you haven't registered already. The main keynote was last week, and there were a couple of smaller events this week. Next week is Dream TX, which is a few days of learning. So pairing that up with the certification days and or anybody who's studying for anything, definitely check it out. It's free. That's the beautiful part about Dreamforce this year is it's not $2,000 to get in, $1,000 to fly there, and then an arm and a leg just to find a hotel room in Oakland. So go check it out. All right, celebrations. Any first-time attendees? Hi, Mike from Syracuse. Let's see, anybody get through here? Well, if it is your first time and,
Yep.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. My name's Joanne Bartlett. I'm a first-time attendee. Nice to meet everyone.
Hi, Joanne. Where are you based out of?
I'm actually here in Kansas City, Overland Park.
Awesome.
I was a director of marketing for 10 or 15 years and have decided to completely rip it up and go into Salesforce. So I just passed my first cert and I'm working on the next one. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm excited to find the group and you guys are a great resource. Excited to find you. So thanks a lot.
Awesome. Congratulations. Very happy to have you. Good luck on the journey. And we're all here for you in any way that we can possibly be. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other first timers?
Hi, this is Selvan here. I'm the first timer here, and I was excited to participate in this meeting. It was awesome.
Awesome.
And I'm very blessed to share the knowledge with you guys. It will be awesome.
Awesome.
So Topeka. I'm from Topeka.
Topeka. All right.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
All right. Any new roles or jobs or job openings to share, which again goes back to the collaboration and networking piece. What's on the job front? And if you have links to postings, we can share those out later as well, if you put them in the chat. No problem. I'll always say for those who have been in consulting or perhaps looking to get in consulting, 7 Summits, we're always hiring BAs, developers, project managers, any number of roles. I'll post the link to our site out there later. DEG, definitely a solid consulting company based here in Kansas City. If anybody has any links that they want to share, go ahead and put them in the chat. We'll share them out later. All right, we got started a little bit early, but my favorite section is certifications. Joanne, congratulations. Who else has passed or even better failed so that we can celebrate you getting to pass here in the future? Stu. Hold on, Stu, is there a certification you haven't taken yet? I'm surprised you're raising your hand.
Yeah, so yesterday I took a 3-hour exam, not for Salesforce. It was for a certified business analyst professional. It's a CBEP exam. I've actually started studying for that test 10 years ago and wanted to take it 10 years ago, but then I had a child and so stopped studying. But I took the exam yesterday and I thought I actually was doing really well. And then I hit the submit button and I failed miserably, I guess, from what it told me. And really, I'm still feeling it. Today, I must admit, I'm still feeling a big ego blow because I thought that I'm this great business analyst and I should know all this stuff. Just transparently being honest with you, I feel like I got knocked down 10 notches and I'm not sure exactly what to do today. I'm in that denial sort of sense. Just being honest and open that I failed the exam and I'm not sure what I'm going to do next.
Try it again, right?
Yes, but it'll take a while for me to get back on that bicycle.
I gotcha. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but if it knocks you down 10, I know you swing for 11. So you're going to end up +1 in no time. So, but also appreciate the transparency. Who else has passed, failed, or actively studying?
Christy, on Saturday, I passed my advanced administrator exam.
Woo! Awesome. Very nice. So for those who are new to the group, I get actually really, really psyched up at people who failed their certification tests, because it's an opportunity to meet others who have either also failed or passed or whatever, so that we can all idea share. And Stu, to be perfectly honest, on the CBAP, you've put an idea in my head as a business analyst, so I may be reaching out to you as well. And if there's a way we can grow together, would love to do that. But anybody who's taken and failed? Anybody who's actively studying?
Yeah, this is Sandy Dolan. I just finished a Trailhead boot camp session, 6 weeks, and it was for the platform app, developer, whatever you call that, certification. So I haven't yet taken the test, but I have finished the boot camp, and it was excellent. It does cost. It's not too bad, but it was a great way to step through it. Some of the weeks we had, well, every week we had an interactive hour-and-a-half with the instructor, and then there were they kind of guided us through all the different trailheads that we needed to take to be successful at it. So hopefully that will translate into certification.
Awesome. Well, and I think out of all of them, Platform App Builder was my favorite because of how it exercised your brain to be thinking as both an admin and a developer, but not having to worry about code. I loved that one. So good luck. When are you taking it? When are you taking it?
I haven't set that up yet.
Oh, that's the number one rule. Set a date. You need to set a date. Come on,
Okay.
put something on the calendar.
Before the January 12th meeting. How about that?
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, then we will celebrate on the 12th. You got this. And pick any of our brains if you need anything as you get there. More than happy to help.
I'm actually doing the same boot camp. I'm finishing that up as well.
Awesome. Very nice. Good luck.
Yeah.
Have you set the date?
No, I have not.
Fair enough.
You and I need to chat and force each other to take it.
I know. I want to take it in January, but hopefully that will happen.
Gotcha. So with all of that, that's a great segue into, as far as I know, I haven't updated the slide in a while. As far as I know, the local testing centers haven't reopened yet. So everything's still online. With taking it online, it's not just okay, I want to take it right now and do it. You still have to reserve a spot. And because of this COVID world, those slots fill up pretty quickly. So I would say get on there as soon as possible, get your date reserved. But at the same time, you may get lucky and be able to work your way into a cancellation. I was able to do that earlier this year, but definitely set your date and plan for that. Don't plan for the cancellation. Get it on the calendar, work towards it. The second webcam requirement is still suspended. It's not a painful experience at all. So just have the one webcam just on your laptop or an auxiliary one, whatever. But the second webcam requirement is still suspended. Okay. Other additional opportunities. So earlier this year, David Giller from New Jersey presented, and he runs a training academy for Salesforce. As of half an hour ago, his reports and dashboards course is still free. So $80 value if you want to learn more about reports and dashboards, and for free. Definitely check out his class. He is top notch at how he teaches and the methodologies, and just his brain is freaking huge when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that would be a great resource if you're looking for help on reports and dashboards. So the virtual career fair, and I won't spoil too much of what Stu is going to be talking about, but the application window is open. If you are a first timer into Salesforce, if you're looking to change change companies, change roles, maybe change your direction, the Virtual Career Fair is a great opportunity to help guide that path. Applications are open until the end of this month. The career fair itself is 21, which that's a palindrome right there, 12121. Shiny object squirrel right here. When we share the link out or share the deck out, go to this blog post. They'll give you all the details of what's required, what to be thinking about, as well as actually registering it. It's not a walk in, show up and do it kind of thing. You do have to go through an application process. And as I said, I'm not going to spoil anything for Stu's session. So get comfortable for Christi's and then Stu's sessions. And Stu's going to dive in a little bit more about how to prepare for it. So with that, our agenda, which is also the cue for me to shut up, Stu will be speaking on the preparation for the Virtual Career Fair. But first, I am so incredibly happy and excited. If you were with us a few minutes before 11 o'clock, and if you've heard me blabber on about it in past meetings. So Christi Kane is an administrator / developer / rad women graduate / awesome person / amazing baker, because she sent me cookies a few months ago and they were mwah. YRC is where I got my career started. And if you heard Clayton earlier at the top of the call talking about last time we saw so-and-so, they were talking about dynamics. They were trying to implement dynamics when I left YRC 10 years ago. And it made me so happy to hear that they switched from dynamics to Salesforce and now are, on the green side of the grass, if you will, and jugging along. Christi has, she's been joining the MVP office hours calls. She and I have had many opportunities to connect. And one of her big things is setting people up for success. You can build on the platform. You can lead the horse to water. You have to try and get them to drink. One of her biggest skill sets and strengths is getting the horse to drink the water. And so what she's going to be presenting on is how to actually implement successful digital training and on a budget. I think this is something you don't have to be an admin or a program manager or any specific role. This is going to be awesome because it's going to help all of us learn some things about how to take what we do every day and actually get usage on it effectively, sustainably, and efficiently. And so with that, I'm going to shut up and proudly turn the mic over to Christi.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to be here and chat with you about a personal passion of mine, which is training, probably because I spent 20 years in outside sales before I made that switch to become the training manager at NewPen, which is a subsidiary of YRC Worldwide. And also I onboarded all the new people and was the Salesforce administrator. So I'd build it and then I would train on it. And so I always keep that end user in mind. So for YRCW's situation, we got Salesforce last year, probably August, and we stood it up by January. And this was all pre-COVID, but there was no budget for flying everybody, driving everybody to meet across the nation to train over 800 users. So we were doing it virtually. Well, that can cause some issues, but if the budget's not there, you got to do it on the budget that you have. So with that, we adopted a train the trainer method for implementation where I created a lot of videos. They're all short. These are salespeople. They have a short attention span. So every video is under 5 minutes, except for one. One had to be 6 minutes. And I also trained the group of trainers that then trained their managers and they trained their people, but we wanted everybody to be trained the same. So I'm going to share my screen and share some of the tools that we used for that. Can you see my screen?
We sure can.
Great. Okay, so the first tool that I want to go to for the Train the Trainer is Screencast-O-Matic, because yes, we use Trailhead and we did the Trail Tracker as well. You might all be familiar with Trail Tracker. I see you nodding, Dale, yes. But Screencast-O-Matic was recommended to me by Salesforce Amy. and it's $40 a year. And it was the simplest thing to use to create videos. I signed up, and you launch record, and I've got the little, I'm going to minimize that really quick so you can see there's the record button way up here behind the little box, and you hit record, and I was able to edit that. And the reason that we did it that way is to have the training department at YRCW, the people in charge there wanted to put documentation together. Between all the videos and everything, it ended up to be 100-page document. Well, I'm sorry, 24-year-olds don't want to read a 100-page document because we're kind of in the meme era right now. So the videos were very, very helpful. So if I launch that, and I'm going to briefly see if I can launch this, and then I would get on the screen that I wanted, which I would try to use production all the time. This right now is a sandbox. You can see how ugly I color my sandbox is very, very ugly, so that I know I'm not in production. And then I just hit the record button in the upper left-hand corner. And when I was done, I would hit save. And I went through specifically and got rid of all my breaths because that made the videos shorter. And nobody wants to sit there and hear me take a pause to breathe. The other tool that I do want to mention before I go into more depth of other items, that's why I have you on that page there, is I found an online program called Mirroring 360. And so while I'm talking to you right now, I'm actually clicking on my phone, and it works both on an Android and an iPhone. And I used Screencast-O-Matic with Mirroring 360 so that I was able to create videos to show Salesforce and to show the details of Salesforce at the same time and video the phone. So I can take this Screencast-O-Matic screen sharing. You can see the black and white lines, and I would put it where it would just show the phone. So we have videos of how to do everything on the phone. Because before COVID, you know, I was creating these videos last November, last December, and reps were in the field. And I did find in my prior job at New Penn that it was very difficult to train on the cell phone because I hadn't discovered or taken advantage of these tools. So I was very, very happy to find this and be able to record videos of whatever I'm doing on my phone. So that's another. Now that was $30 for the year. So between that and that, as I minimize my screen here, let me cancel that. There we go, and stop sharing that. I have too many programs open. Okay, so I'm going to reshare my screen again so that I can show you what we did with that, and it's still sharing. I need to stop sharing my phone. There we go. There we go. I took, just because it's an intranet, and obviously Dale, you'll understand this, I took a picture of it, so I'm not actually logging into something behind the firewall for our meeting here. But we take those videos that I have created and load them up to Vimeo, which the marketing department owns all that Vimeo site, and that's $200 for the year. And then we take it and embed this on our intranet, and we've got all kinds of sections of videos that I've created. Now, yes, Trailhead can help you with the overall navigation of Salesforce, but I also created very specific to our org navigation videos, the upper left-hand corner, the upper right-hand corner, how to get to other apps, whatever it might be, to train that end user. And one of the benefits that we did not see when we rolled out this entire training method of watching these videos is down the road when people forget how to do something, I can just say, here's your video, which is really helpful and saves me time first. So we actually have it as part of the program now. that new onboards have to go through and do the trailhead, trail mix, and the videos as well, so that they can learn all the sections. Now, a helpful tip, you need to have a particular time frame that you want to return to that and relook at it, which I just did last month for all the opportunity videos, because over time we've added new functionality, we've changed some functionality, and the videos can become outdated. So you want to go back and redo them. As I did that, I was able to cut it down by 4 less videos in that particular section, where there might have been 9 and now there's 5, which is helpful as well to that end user. Any questions so far before I dive into more training tools that we use? Because my total at this point is under $300 for the rollout.
That's impressive.
Thanks. It was very successful too. I actually had a lot of reps tell me that my videos were more helpful to them than Trailhead, which in my own personal life, that was a compliment because I love Trailhead. But besides that, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, when you're at the end, I have a point to make on that. I agree, but I have a point to make on that later.
Okay. All right. Write that down so you don't forget that later, because I forget things if I don't write them down. So some of the other things, and again, I'm in a sandbox, I've got fake data, but we have 4 companies that roll up. We have a lot of services. Dale, Corey can tell you, we have just a variety of services in shipping. So one of the things I did, and I know somebody got made fun of on LinkedIn the other day, but I find it really valuable for the end user to have filtered rich text. So whatever service a rep is choosing, there is information on the side that I just use a simple rich text box, and I've colored it by OPCO so they can see if it's YRC, if it's Holland, then they can have that specific information. I also have, if it's a particular type of, let me see if I can move that box. Here we go. I'm going to click on edit page, because if it's a particular record type, we do have recurring opportunities and fixed, where it's not going to happen month over month over month. I have this fun little, yay, successes on board. That's not really training, but still helpful. If it's a Henry opportunity, we've got that to let them know that specific information. If it's a fixed opportunity, I've got rich text, and this is all just rich text with links to a specific video that they need. While in-app guidance is great, we use it a little because it only pops up sometimes and you can dismiss it. I actually myself prefer the rich text with a link to that video. And I'll go back now. And then here is another link to all of the marketing library, which of course is public facing, but still makes it really easy, especially for a new rep who's trying to learn logistics, to get to all that data that they need. Another tool that we use is the customized help text. Now this sends it to the intranet site, and there's also all of the websites as well, so that a rep can easily get to any of the websites to track a shipment and learn more about that particular brand under YRCW. So we've got that as well. And another side benefit of the whole thing was actually, we have a senior process analyst, and he's been watching all the videos and creating the processes just from the videos. So it benefited even more than just the end user as well. The only best practices that I have for it is to make sure that someone, whether it's the rich text, whether it's the customized help text, whether it's the videos, you just make sure, kind of like that optimizer for an admin, to go back and review it on a certain recurring date that you can update it so it does not become out of date. So that's pretty much all I have. I know you were giving me more time, Dale. It's kind of a short and easy, quick thing.
No, I mean, that's great. I mean, So you ended at $300. Was that the final price tag?
270. If you think about it, 200 for Vimeo. The internet was already there because I called the marketing department and asked them how much they pay for the Vimeo, and $40 for Screencast-O-Matic for me, with just the one person to build it, and $30 for Mirroring 360. $270. We trained over 800 users, and it was very successful.
Well, and what I love about that is, I mean, yes, it sounds like from obviously the sheer money out of wallet, that's pennies compared to, you know, a lot of other spend. Yes, you had to put in the time and the energy to put the videos together, and it's a constant refinement process, but that's you being the consummate team player, just based on the feedback that you've received from them, that these videos work so much better than the training documentation. We have to write the training, like all the things. You took the brunt of that cost, which in the end wasn't much. I mean, to, you know, the time it took to put the videos together, to then bring so much savings to the overall company. Like, in the grand scheme, tiny sacrifice on your part to bring that huge value to increase your adoption. I mean, that's huge.
And it's been so great to actually just be able to say, hey, you know, there was a gentleman the other day called, how do I do this? I said, did you watch the videos? And he goes, no, I haven't. I go, okay, well, go watch the video. If you still have questions, then I'll help.
Only back in less than 5 minutes if you have any questions.
So it really saves the admin time later if you set it up first.
Right. Yeah. I did write down some other points, but I want to open the floor to anybody else who has questions or comments or thoughts.
Hi, Christy. Thank you for your presentation. I thought that was really good. I just wanted to ask if you could talk a little bit about the process of scripting your videos, or what did you do to provide the training dialogue and to walk through. I know from my experience, sometimes when I'm a little bit too close to something might be obvious to me about what you should do. And so how do you go about creating the script that makes it easy and so that the video comes off smooth and professional?
That's a great question. There are two sides to that part. First of all, I will tell you that I do have relatives, 10 teachers in my family. So I do feel like for me personally, and that's not something every single person has, I'm always thinking it's a brand new person. And I've onboarded a lot of people in the past, so I know when they're brand new and they know absolutely nothing at all. So I keep that in mind on every video, because the person who was interpreting it for the documentation knew nothing about Salesforce. And if you get someone who knows a little, but you're right, you're saying, oh, what if I skip something? So the video itself, I didn't script ahead of time and read. I would go through the functionality and what it was, and, you know, this is an opportunity, because I would do an overview per section. So what is an opportunity? What is the icon for that opportunity? And then the next video was how to create a recurring opportunity. And the next video is how to create the other. But that being said, the making of the video, recording it, didn't take that long. The editing probably took me the rest of a full hour, because I go back and listen to every part and go, and if I've messed up too much, I just scrapped it and redid it. If not, I once in a while would put in a little overlay of something I might have forgotten to make. So it's the editing that really, am I happy with it at the end? And for you, if you know yourself that say, oh, I might forget something, have another set of eyes. I majored in journalism in college, and I believe you can never self-edit. So you might say, I'm going to send you these videos. If you think I forgot something, let me know. And then you can collaborate with that and edit that video to add in the little overlay section. Which
in a way is like your own QA and UAT testing process. I mean, never self-edit, but it's no different than any development you would have done. You test it before you make it production and out in the wild.
Yeah, although you won't get an error if somebody watches a video and you've missed something.
Thank you. That was really.
Thanks.
I'll throw out my points that I noticed. So, yep, Trailhead is great to a point. And then also when you talked about in-app guidance, not necessarily being the solution to what you were doing, you had to make your own customization a little bit to embed links. But yeah, Trailhead is great to a point to learn how the tools of Salesforce work. If you expect it to solve all of your problems and your company's use case, you're expecting too much. So if you know where that line is, a trailhead is going to teach you what the tools are and how to use them. This is a hammer. To drive a nail into the wall, you go tap, tap, tap. Now, put the hammer down after that and then figure out what picture you want to hang up. Trailhead's not going to tell you what picture to hang up. Trailhead's going to tell you how to nail the nail in the wall. Then also recognizing that with in-app guidance, like you recognized whether you knew it immediately or through trial and error, it's okay to go down a path that you think is going to work, test it out, and then realize that's not going to work. How do we tried to use it how it's supposed to be used, but that's just not going to work. It takes pivoting. So that's just a general rule of thumb. I also want to call out the use of the rich text fields. This is now the second session or user group meeting in a row. Daniel last month on his presentation with the email signature, which Christy, you had something to do with from office hours. I want to get a streak going of actually calling out the pros of rich text fields because we're on a 2-meeting streak. So yay for that. And then just going back to your overall, like when you said refining, having to go back and refine the videos, again, it's no different than a development model of modularity. You're not going back and recarving all of your training. You're looking at the individual videos because maybe only one video needs to be updated. Don't throw away the whole thing. Implementing modularity in your overall process, whether it's development, training, documentation, any of it, is going to save you so much time in the end. Just go fix the part. Don't throw away the whole thing. Just fix the part that needs to be fixed.
That being said, Dale, I did, because we had changed so much over time with our opportunities, I did have to just start over. So it looked, because I do want it to look like it looks for the AE. So a lot of times I will log in as them when I'm running it as well, because they might not see a box that I see. But I did look at opportunities and said, wow, we've changed so much, and I keep adding on it. Now there's this new field, and now there's this new validation rule. And I'm like, let's just start over.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Anybody else have any other questions or thoughts? There's a good thread going in the chat, starting to share the links. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, everybody else jumping in on that. Anything else?
Thank you, Christy. I love the fact that you're delivering content right where your users are, so they don't have to hunt around to find out how do I do something. And I love the fact that you use the help, Salesforce help. I was just shown that. I mean, that's been around for a long time, I think, and I was just shown that like a month ago, and I was like, I didn't know you could customize the Salesforce help. How did I not know that? So I love the fact that you're using that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Yeah, I find it helpful because it's easy when someone's like, well, how do I get to that internet? Because sometimes nowadays, a rep can be hired and there's 30 different software programs that they need to go learn for their job. That's something I didn't show because it's kind of training, but kind of not. I created a whole other app called Sales Navigator, and it literally lists all the other links that they need for anything else that's not currently in Salesforce. So they just have a one-stop shop to go click a link.
Well, I think that brings up a really good point, going back to Matt's question about, I don't want to use the term lowest common denominator because it kind of has a negative feel to it. But if you have a brand new rep to the company who doesn't know potentially the business process, doesn't know all the applications that are being used, all the everything, it is absolutely critical that everything be toned down to the lowest common level, because you got to crawl, walk, run. You can't expect them to just walk in and go run a marathon while sprinting. Like no baby has ever done that. No human has ever done that. You start by crawling. And if that means going to industry jargon, if that means going to how Salesforce calls it because that's what they're going to be living with, whatever it takes, you're never going to offend even the most experienced person by saying this is the terminology we're using because it's what's been accepted as best practice of terminology, and it allows everybody to speak the same language, and it just continues to hone in. This is how we're going to do this so that there's no risk later of somebody deviating and doing their own thing or saying yeah, I didn't know how to do that. Awesome. Well, Christi, again, thank you so much. This is huge. Like I said, it applies to pick anybody in the audience. I'm sure there's something that we have all pulled out of this at more of a strategic level to be able to help with training, with communication in general. Like that's something that we all can be working on. And these were the tools that you're using to put this together. Very, very applicable across the board. So awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back anytime. Okay, so with that, we are going to hand it over to Stu Edeal from up in the Twin Cities. He, a couple of months ago, very graciously reached out to say, we have, Salesforce has this Trailhead virtual career fair coming up. And I've done sessions on this in the past. I've done mentoring. I've done career coaching. I've looked at a fair number of resumes and helped people along the way. I would love to give my time to do this. That's a reflection of this community. If you're new to the Salesforce community and you wonder what we're all about giving back. I'm going to also say in the, I don't know, I've lost count, 7-8 years I've known Stu. He is one of my most favorite people on this planet. Take Salesforce off the table. Stu is one of my most favorite people because that's who Stu is. So and I know that in this COVID world, even take COVID off the table, getting into the Salesforce marketplace, having a sustainable career. I mean, those are issues that have always been around, but COVID definitely did not help things. So the fact that this career fair is coming up next month, that the application window is open now, and that, Stu is willing to do this. I'm so happy to turn it over to Stu to walk us through how to prepare for the career fair, some resume review, and just, this guy's one of the smartest and kindest and warm-hearted people I've ever met. So I'm going to shut up and just let Stu do his thing.
Oh, Dale. Wow. Okay. And unfortunately, this presentation is going to be a lot of slides and words and talking, which I really dislike. I would rather have something where it's more show and tell like Christi did. But let me bring up and show. Hopefully you can see what should be a slide on the Connect Career Fair here. And as Dale had mentioned, this is coming up soon. Let me get over these slides now.
1/21/21.
That's correct. So why am I talking about this? I think the qualification that I have on this is I've been part of this career fair on the back end side as far as being a volunteer and a mentor, going through the resume reviews and the mock interview coaching. But all around, I've had a lot of experience with reviews and interviews and layoffs and job experiences. So I think that I can help folks with knowing what possibly to say and not to say in the different reviews. So this career fair is definitely reimagined. Last year at Dreamforce, they had it in person. They actually had sponsors and vendors and partners in house, and they had folks that registered to go through with their resumes and did in-person interviews. This one they're going to do virtually, and there's some important things to look at. One is there's an article on it here. I'll put all of these links. I'll send all these links to Dale, and we can put them into the community and send them out, as well as these slides. The applications have already started December 1 through December 31st. And if you are accepted to this career fair, you'll be notified by January 11th. And what does it mean to be accepted? We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But things that you'll want to have prepared in order to be accepted, you'll want to have a LinkedIn profile set up. And that LinkedIn profile, if you don't have one, is kind of an example of your resume online that people can refer to after the interview and make sure that they remember who you are and know some of the key facts about you and your history. Also, you'll want to have a Trailblazer profile. And if you have already signed up for Trailhead and gone through some badges, you probably already have one. What you'll want to know, however, is on your Trailhead profile, there is a .me reference for you, trailblazer.me ID, and then a specific name. You can customize this name and have it be your own profile moniker. You'll want to know what that is, and I believe that they ask you that during registration time as well. And go ahead and fill in information about yourself, whatever you'd like those sponsors and companies to know about you, to refer back to. This profile will have information about the things you've done on Trailhead, any certifications that you have, and other things about you. And there's another thing that you can think about, and that is building a personal profile using Salesforce communities. Now it's not called communities anymore, it's experience, correct? The full experience. There is both a Medium, a blog that's out there by the Salesforce team, but also there is a Trailhead on how to build your own online Salesforce experience that you can put on your own portfolio. The Minnesota Salesforce Saturday group recently had a session where we did exactly this. Benjamin Bratcher, who is a platform champion, walked us through step by step how to use the product, how to put in your own links, your own content into Salesforce. You sign up for your own Salesforce developer license, and there is this strange LinkedIn link to get to the session and a really strange passcode. Again, I can send these links out to you as well as that passcode, but the video is there, and I encourage anyone, if you want to go through this and watch it, it is there for your use, and the Salesforce Saturday group would love it if more and more people watch this content. I enjoyed this session not because I actually didn't finish my portfolio, but I really loved learning more about the product and what you can do with it. It really, to be honest, it made me more happy about Salesforce and all of the stuff that you can do in Salesforce just by learning more about how to build it for myself. All right, I'm going to go into virtual career fair tips. Some of these are going to be specifically for the virtual career fair, and some of these are just if you ever need to do this for a virtual interview, regardless of the career fair or not. So the first thing is to register ahead of time. So I've told you the dates. You need to have the registrations in by December 31st. Have those prerequisites done and ready ahead of time. So those prerequisites are going to be your resume, the LinkedIn profile, the Trailblazer profile, those sort of things. Also, when you register, this should allow you to get a glimpse of the employees and the partners and the sponsors that are going to be participating in the fair. It's really good to note those down and think about who's going to be there other than yourself. Who would you want to talk to at this career fair? And if you see interesting companies, interesting domains that you want to be a part of, do some research. Go out there and find their websites or do some information about the types of work that they're doing. really having that background before you talk to those companies is going to help you to have more information to say to them. Also, you get an idea of the backgrounds of maybe some things that they might need to have as far as resources that you could fill in of those needs. The other thing is to practice your pitch. And this is the how are you going to introduce yourself? And after you do the research about the company, why are you interested in that company? What types of positions or roles would you be seeking? How would you describe your previous work? What would you plan on asking a representative of a company when you're at the virtual fair? I do a bad job of being able to answer those questions in a concise, meaningful way. And what I mean by that is that you may even notice in my talk today that I might ramble on more than a minute to get my point across. And I know that that's a personal trait that I have, that sometimes I'll go down a rabbit hole and then come back the other side, thinking that I have an idea in my head that hasn't quite formed when I enter the rabbit hole, and come out the other side, and maybe it wasn't quite what I meant to say, but I kind of got my point across. It would be better if I practiced that ahead of time, and I have time. The career fair is not until January, so I have over a month to think about how I would introduce myself. How would I position my career? How would I think about my work experiences and explain that to somebody? And I have people in my house that I can talk to about it. If I wanted to do a mock interview with someone in my house, I could do that. And have them even time me. How long did it take for me to explain who I am? Did it take 5 minutes? Did it take 3 minutes? Did that explanation make sense to them if they didn't know who I was? There are things that you can think about when you're doing that, practicing your pitch, practicing your elevator speech. And then number 5 on this list is make sure that your technology is ready to go. So being in a virtual interview sort of session, you want to make sure that your device is capable of supporting this virtual career fair. You'll definitely want to have a camera so that the employer can speak to you face to face. You should also try to do a dry run with that camera and audio before the career fair, just so that you know that you can make a connection and that the camera can see your face and that you can hear and see people on the other side of that line. At the virtual career fair, the first one is while the camera may not see the whole body, you will want to wear something that that expresses you in a professional way. Some employers will want to see you face to face, and so you'll want to present yourself in a way that is the most appropriate from you. I'm not going to tell you how you want to dress or present yourself, but whatever seems the most successful to you and how you've researched the company and how you feel your position is with that company. You'll want to make yourself be the most presentable that you can be. You want to find the right space. That could be a distraction-free environment. It could be a comfortable environment. You'll want to plan out where you'll be attending the career fair from. Somewhere that the camera will have an angle that will be able to see your face framed in a central position, that won't be near the end of the room, so you'll seem like a small character in the frame, and also somewhere that you may be able to be comfortable and answer questions, and not have a lot of sounds, distractions, things that would interrupt the discussion. Number 3 is pump yourself up. So that is just kind of to be able to put yourself out there. Engage in a chat. The ball is really in your court. You are there to introduce yourself, explain yourself, and ask questions about the organizations. You are the driver of this. You want them to know about you, and you want to know about the organization, what sort of things that are available. And so, you know, if you need to pump yourself up in front of a mirror before the talk, that would be the appropriate time to do so. Number 4 is demonstrate body language. Now, similar to a traditional career fair, you will want to present yourself in the camera as confident and competent. And one way that employers will pick up on this is through body language. And that body language is really all in facial expressions, being able to see what you're thinking right in the camera. There's some ways that are going to help with this. One is going to be lighting, to be honest. So one of the things that I did right before we switched to this presentation is I took my light and placed it right behind the camera so that I have a focused light right on my face. This will help so you see all of the facial expressions that I'm having. You'll be able to see what I'm saying, and there'll be no shadows or darkness, but my face is in full focus during this interview. If you do have access to a spotlight or a ring light or something like that, that might be something that you'll want to do before the virtual interview, before the career fair, just so that anyone that is taking part can see your face clearly without any problems. The other thing is that active listening is really important during an interview to make sure that they understand you are listening to their answers and listening to their questions. One way to do that is to maintain eye contact. And maintaining eye contact in a virtual setting with a web camera or a camera that's on a laptop can be sort of difficult. If you do what I do sometimes, which is look at my face, well, my face is over here, but the camera is over here. Luckily, I have a green light that shows up where the camera is, so I could stare at the green light when I'm listening to what the interviewer has to say. And that may indicate that I'm listening if I'm looking right at the green light, and I could nod my head, say, yes, I'm listening to what you have to say. Smiling and nodding occasionally could indicate that, yes, I am taking part in this conversation. I still have a connection to you. Again, limiting distractions that are around you also can help with this. Now, there's an interesting part. When I do an in-person interview, I like to take notes. However, if I have my book and I start to take notes during a virtual interview, I have now lost control because I'm no longer looking at the camera. I'm taking notes in a notepad, and the recruiter or interview doesn't know what I'm doing. Maybe they think that I've checked out and have started working on something else during the middle of the interview. So this is something that maybe we should talk about. Is taking notes going to appear as a distraction? Or do I need to take notes? I mean, I'm a person where if I don't take notes, I am going to forget things. I know that about me. I'm just not I don't have a verbal memory. So what I tend to do is ask. As I start the interview, I will tell the recruiter, tell the interviewer, hey, I take notes in this notepad. I may be taking notes during the interview when you say something that is a critically valuable piece of information. So if I am looking down with my pen, that is a sign that I need to write this down. And it's not that I'm checking out or anything. I'll check back in. I just need to make sure that I write down what you've said to me. Usually that is an indicator that yes, that this is a good indicator that this relationship is something where I need to be able to follow up on things, and that's okay. But if you just start writing down notes and they don't know what you're doing, you haven't talked to them or asked them anything, that's usually not a good indication. And then this ABC copy is for closers. That is just my memory that during the interview, during that conversation, to always be thinking about what is the next step. If we're having a really good conversation, what is the final part of the agenda? If we're going to part ways, we've had a really good talk and we part ways and we say goodbye, well, that doesn't really do it for either of us. I need to make sure that there is a next step to this. I really want this job, and I think that they really want me as their next employee. I need to take down their contact information. I need to write down, well, what's the next steps? How can I get in contact with you? How can I find out more about this job? How can I reach your HR department? Things like that. I want to ask them right away. How do I apply for this job? Or what are the next steps to make this possible? I don't want to let that possibility go away. If I have that person right in front of me, I want to go ahead and close the deal. It's just like a sales job. Then after the career fair, or even after that interview, it depends. There are a few things, and I kind of announced earlier that I failed a test yesterday, and I'm still reeling over it. Maybe I need to take a look at this note and just take it for my own personal sake. After you do something, breathe. Take stock in what you just did. You just did something that is challenging, that is a little bit risky, a little bit dangerous, perhaps. So relax a little bit. Give yourself credit for what you just did. You did a lot of work, and we don't know the outcome of it yet, but you need to give yourself a pat on the back for doing the work that you did. Review the time that you spent. Maybe now is a good time to take that notebook out and journal everything that you talked about. Write it all down. Write down the things that you still have questions about. Write down your successes, the things in the discussion that went really well, that you connected with your recruiter or the interviewer with really well. Write down the key discussions. Write down the next steps. Make a journal about everything that you did in that interview. Also, reach out maybe later that day or the next day. Write up a thank you note. whether it's an email, a handwritten thank you notes. Handwritten thank you notes go a long way because not many people receive handwritten thank you notes. So if it is possible to find out the address of their headquarters and you know their name, sending a handwritten thank you note is a really good idea. But you want to, in that note, write in something that was specific about the interview, something that resonated with you and you think resonated with them. Because that, again, will be that reminder when they receive that card that, hey, I remember Christy. I remember what she said about this. And it's just another reminder that, yeah, well, I need to follow up with her. At that point in time, you may also want to send your resume or portfolio, work examples, other things like that, just to reiterate, hey, we talked about this. Here's some examples of this. Also, if you are applying for the job, and again, this is the time to apply for a job. If they said, well, this is a specific job we're looking for, apply for the job and reference someone that you engaged with at the fair, someone that you talked to specifically. Put that in the cover letter of your resume. And then also in that, just reference and make sure that you thank them again if you're applying for that job. All right, that was a lot of talking. So I am going to take a drink of water.
While you take that drink of water, I'm just going to say this is all awesome, good stuff. Thank you.
All right. Are there any, I just want to make sure, is there anything I need to stop for in the chat?
No, just people validating what you've been saying, like the piece with the notebook, that definitely resonated with people to just call out, hey, I'm going to be taking notes, that I'm not, you're not boring me. I want to capture the important stuff. But no questions.
Okay. All right. In the review, or in the fair, in the career fair, along with interviewing at specific sponsors or specific companies, there will be volunteers. I will be a volunteer. There will be other Salesforce community leaders, MVPs, and such that will be asked to volunteer to do two things. One is a resume review, and the other one is a mock interview. And if you are participating in the career fair, you can sign up for, I think it's 10 to 15 minutes of time of session blocks to do these things. And the first item, well, I'll go ahead and take you through these things. There's nothing all that magical about them. And so if you do or do not get a chance to be accepted to the career fair, you can still do these things. You can do them with other friends or family members that may be going through the situation of furloughed or needing a job. These are the types of questions that they will ask us to look for during the resume review. And what I've done, I've got, there is another member of our community, Jeremy Fink, who is on the call, but I know that he is distracted somewhat because of family commitments. But he has agreed to allow us to look at his resume. So I am going to actually pull his resume up and I know he's listening. He may or may not be able to connect through the whole call here, but we'll have his resume available and kind of look at some of these questions. As we review his resume, it'll ask us things like, are the names and email addresses, does it have contact information? And yes, it's right here at the top, easy to find, so that's good. We know who he is, where is he from, and how we can find him. He has his LinkedIn address and his Trailblazer address, easily identified. This is good. So this meets the requirements that the fair has.
Hey, Stu, really quickly, Jeremy
Yeah.
says, don't go easy on me. So, you can give it the full set of scrutiny
Okay.
if you want.
Well, okay. And we may have community input on here. Are there any spelling or grammar issues? I don't see any. I mean, the spell checker is on, so that's fine. Is the resume well organized and easy to find information? Well, that is up to the eye of the reader, I think. We'll talk about this a little bit. Let's go through the questions. Does the resume include a summary or objective that quickly outlines the career goals? It does have a professional summary. We'll look at that a little bit. Does each previous experience contain metrics around performance in the role? That's something that I want to look at specifically. Is the resume one page? If not, does it make sense? Does the resume showcase Salesforce experience? Does the resume include previous Salesforce experience? And if not, is the previous experience parallel with the Salesforce role that has crossover? All right. And everyone that volunteers is going to look at this resume a little bit differently. And you get, as a volunteer, you get maybe 3 minutes to look at it before you're connected to the applicant. And so that's not a lot of time to look through a resume. You can easily see some of those top things, like, are there a bunch of spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes? Can you easily define what their summary is? Okay, high energy Salesforce administrator. It's explaining, who he is. I don't know if reading in the professional summary, if I understand what he wants. What does he want to do, or what is his goal going forward? That may be my one question when I talk to him, would be, it explains who you are at a high level. That's good. But what do you want? What's your perfect scenario, or what's your next scenario? I see skills here. Personally, I don't care that much about these skills. I would move them down at the bottom. I want to see what you've done and the metrics. So they talk in here about, does the previous experience also contain metrics around performance? And this is something where I've heard this often, over and over again, where if I have work history and it says, completed tests and promoted declarative changes through sandbox and production orgs, that's great. What did it do? What was the outcome of that? Could I say that by doing this, I increased in efficiency by 10%, or by doing this, I led the rollout of the community cloud for 500 users? Or, what sort of metrics, what does that actually mean to the business? And I think that as we're working on our resumes, defining what you did is great, but what impact did it have to business? Why should I, as a recruiter, care that you know how to create community cloud or change somebody's password? I mean, it's great, and I'm being picky there, but this is something that a recruiter is going to ask, is, so what? Does the resume fit on one page? It doesn't. Does it need to? Maybe not, but probably having this extra stuff on the bottom isn't necessary. So I would probably tend to move it to one page if I can. Because unless there's a reason for it to span 2 pages, I would tend to just have it on one page. It's easier for the recruiter to read, and probably ultimately easier for you to maintain one page as well. There's a question in here. Would you recommend highlighting the next role on our long-term plan? Yeah, and that'll be another bullet on the next page. I always customize, or recommend always customizing a resume for the job you're applying for. So my summary up here is going to be different every time I apply for a job, because what I want out of an architect job versus a product owner job, it's just slightly different. So the content of my work history may remain the same, but I'm going to highlight in the summary who I am in a slightly different way. And then seeing value in adding certifications and super badges, yes. I would, if that is something that you feel like is important to that next job. And I think when going into a career fair that is Salesforce related, having super badges on there, having supersets on there, having certifications on there is definitely an advantage. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, you know, everyone that reviews it has a little bit different. Some people hate the list of skills. I like the list of skills. I just wouldn't leave it at the top. I don't know. And everyone's got a different view of how their resume should be listed. In the career fair, I saw several resumes, especially from folks that were just out of school, and they had no Salesforce experience at all on them, and that's fine. Don't have to have Salesforce experience, because there are many jobs that will be cross-functional. Doing QA on a accounting system, or doing BA work for a manufacturing system. There are still certain items in there that you can relate to. Well, here's how I would do this in Salesforce. It doesn't have to be directly Salesforce related, as long as you can explain, I kind of understand how Salesforce would do it. Here's what I've done in the past, and here's how I'm learning how to do it in Salesforce. To me, that makes sense. And I think, you know, I had a boss that for several years, if we would look for a Java programmer, and he got a bunch of resumes that said, you know, I've been a Java programmer for 10 years, and he'd look at those and say, well, that's boring. Why would I hire a Java programmer to fill a Java programmer position? I would rather hire somebody that has other experience and then train them to be a Java programmer. And I always thought, well, that's weird. That's a weird answer. But in a way, I kind of like that answer, because you can train the skills if you get the right person that's got the right attitude. And so I've taken away that sort of attitude from that boss. I like the discussion in the chat. I mean, it's true. Tailored, in the chat, it says that tailored resumes require you to know which resume you sent to who. Whereas if you had a standard resume, then you know your resume straightforward. And when you go into a job fair, I mean, I remember going into job fairs where I had a stack of 25 resumes and they were all the same. I mean, there's a way to do it. And usually when you go into a job fair, even virtual, you're going to have one version of your resume. The other thing with this resume, it's in Word. He sent it to me in Word. That's fine. But there is also controversy. Should I send this in Word or PDF? I like the concept of sending it in PDF, and here's why. Because I can control the page then. When I send it in Word, Jeremy actually might have sent me this as one page, but when I opened it up in my Word, for whatever reason, maybe I don't have the fonts that he had, it might have split it into 2 pages just because of the differences in technology. But if he would have created it in PDF and sent it to be in PDF, it's now just in 1 page. He can control what it looks like, and it's going to look like that for everybody. But I know that some people, when I say that, they say that these recruiters' Word readers don't work very well with PDF, and so they like to have it in Word so they can punch it through their automated readers. And that's fine. I hate automated readers, but I know that some companies just use them. Move on to the resume tips. So, and then this number 1 on the tips, again, we're going to have, even in this group, we've got differences. Resume should not be canned, but should match the specific job you want. And again, in this room, some people say, no, we'd prefer to have canned resumes and maybe only customize the cover letter. If they allow you to do a cover letter, then customize that. But have something there that explains to the recruiter or the interviewer, here's why I fit the needs of your job. And in that cover letter, look at the words that they're using in their job description. Are you using the same language that they're using? Try and use action words. That's another thing that in looking at, you know, I managed a Salesforce system for 800 users. Managed, that's kind of vague. What does that mean? Managed to one person could be different than managed to another person. Could there be different action words that would reflect what you actually did, how you actually used it? When possible, again, providing specific details, metrics around the projects you've done, and what the outcome of those projects were. If you can't create a financial reason, that's fine. But maybe it's the number of users that were affected, or the time it took, or something like that. I like to keep things simple, especially at a career fair, because I'm assuming that at a career fair, a recruiter is going to see hundreds of applicants, maybe thousands if it's a big career fair. They need to scan your resume quickly to understand who you are in order to have that conversation. If it is a fancy document with all sorts of graphics and weird things on it, it's hard to read that. So specifically for this career fair, I would keep it simple, text in a readable font, that when you look at it, can I get an idea of who you are in these words, yes or no? And Christy, I don't know the names of the software, but I'll give you a resource that does at the end. There's a website that I'll direct you to that has a bunch of this information on it. All right. The second thing that will happen at the job fair is a mock interview activity. And there's not a ton of questions because we only have a few minutes. They give us like 5 to 10 minutes with each applicant. And these are the questions. The questions are, tell me about yourself. Why are you interested in this company? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your passions? I love that. What are your passions? If I'm ever asked to interview somebody, I always go for the passions. And then I follow up that on, tell me about a project that you feel like you succeeded on. And then tell me why. Tell me more about that project. I really want you to take me through the life cycle of how did you find out about that project? What was the initial problem that you were having? To how did you figure out how to solve that problem and then put it into place? And then tell me what the results are. How are the people feeling about your solution now? And then how would you help this company? What are you going to do to make this company better? And again, these are things where having a tight answer is important because you only get 5 to 10 minutes. So if your first answer of who you are takes 5 minutes, you're done. If you're going to answer 3 of these questions, you have to answer them in 2 minutes or less. So doing that requires practice. You have to sit with these questions and really think about how you're going to answer them, and then practice them with someone. And time yourself. Did it take 2 minutes to answer that? And then ask your partner, did that make sense? Was that a reasonable answer? Did that actually reflect who I am? Or was I just making up stuff? And this is one thing where, Dale, if you have breakout rooms in the future and you want to do this, this might be something where you do that. You have people break out into groups and say, go through these types of questions and see if you can do it in 5 minutes. Just take 2 or 3 of these questions, or just 2. How long does it take to explain yourself and who you are and what type of work you've done?
I love it. That's a great idea.
It takes me more than 5 minutes to explain myself because I'm confusing. That's why I have bad job interviews. Yeah, let's go with this. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I want to say about that. I don't think there's any questions about that. There's no questions about that. Let's go to this. One of the things that I get to do, so now I can talk about, this is a fun thing to talk about. In 2016, I got a chance to ask Mark Benioff one question. And that was the year that Salesforce had announced that they were donating a ton of money and resources and time to the San Francisco public schools. And will.i.am created a foundation also to donate time and money to schools, to underprivileged schools. And they made a huge deal about it at Dreamforce. So at Dreamforce, I got to ask him a question. I said, that's great that you have the ability to donate all this time and money to schools. What about somebody like me who doesn't have all that kind of money? What can I do to help my local school? And he turned it right back around on me. And he said, okay, what's the name of your local school? And I said, well, that's easy. That's Somerset. And he said, okay, what's the name of the principal of that school, of the superintendent of that school? And I said, I have no idea. I have no clue. And he said, well, there you go. Your mission is to go and find out the name of the superintendent of that school and ask them, what do they need? Is there anything that they need to do that they can't do today? And make a list of that needs. And then send me that list. So I took him up on that challenge. And I went to Somerset School, and I asked them what they need. In that conversation, they didn't really get it. They didn't need anything. But they directed me to another school, Humboldt School, which is in St. Paul. That school has 93% minority rate and a 95% school lunch program rate, which means that 95% of the students can't afford school lunch. And I asked them, do you have any needs? And they said, yes, I want you to talk to our AOIT. It's their Academy of Information Technology. I thought, you have an Academy of Information Technology? They said, yeah, but we don't have anybody on the outside in the public or in the private sector that can give us guidance on what to do for our students and how to teach our students how technology works. And so from 2016 until now, I'm even serving on it now, I've been working with them and with the St. Paul School District and now with the Minnesota Department of Education to help understand better ways to get technology to students and to teach students more information about learning about technology. And that was from that one question that I posed to Mark Benioff as started out kind of a snarky question, and he turned it back on me to challenge me to do something. A few weeks ago, we had a quarterly meeting. We had our quarterly meeting, and this here, which I'll zoom in on, was their first rendition of the career pathways for students. And this is to help them to identify, starting in a sophomore year of high school, identify the career pathways that they may want to go in, and what Minnesota college or technical school that they could go to receive that education. And they asked us in the Technology Council, or I guess we could call it that, to give us advice on how to deal with this area over here, the career field of arts, communications, and information systems, which I love the fact that IT is in a cluster with arts and communications. It makes me feel good. I love that. And so what I told them was this, that no matter what, any student, I love the fact that they put this foundation knowledge and skills in this middle circle. Because I said, no matter what, I want students to have this. I want them to know about problem solving and critical thinking and citizenship and ethics and leadership and all this stuff. Yes. In fact, everybody should know this, not just high school students. I think other people should be taking classes on this. And Jeremy, my volunteer for the resume part, I was talking to him about this, and he said they're missing one word, and that's curiosity. And I said, yeah, curiosity is a good word to put in here too. And then as I looked at the IT area, I thought, well, this is an interesting start for IT, information support, network systems, programming. But I started to look at the other areas. And I looked at agriculture, food, and natural resources, and I thought, but that's IT too. And I looked at business management and administration. That's IT. And then I looked at human services and the stuff going on here, law, government. That's IT. and health sciences, biotech, diagnostic services, that's IT. And then engineering, manufacturing, and architecture, that's IT. And I had to go back and tell them, you know, IT isn't just technology. IT is looking at other domains and figuring out how technology can transform and innovate other things. And so that's where this, I told you about my boss that was looking at Java programmers. That's where this comes in, is I wanna have people in the future that aren't just interested in IT. I don't want just to develop Java. That's boring to me. I want people that want to solve problems in the world using technology, but they have domain expertise or curiosity in all these different fields and using technology to help solve them. Why do I bring that up? Why is that important to talk about during a career fair discussion? And that's this, that as I'm talking to these students and the teachers that are helping these students, I think about back when I went to high school, and I'm not that old. I mean, but I'm older than the kids. And the career counselor at my high school really pressured me into thinking about, what do you want to do for a living? What's your dream job? What do you want to do? And now I look at that question and I don't ask the kids that, because the dream job will be figured out later. What's your next job? What are you interested in this whole map? What of this map is interesting to you that you want to do for your next job? And then that might turn into another job, might turn into a dream job. But don't worry about the dream job going into this career fair or going into your next set of interviews or when you look online for jobs. If you just zone into what's my dream job, you might miss other jobs that are so important, that might be such a cool place to work or such a cool thing to do. I really want to point that out, that you don't have to limit yourself to only what's in this sector, because there's a whole lot of other things that could need your skills and could need your expertise. And that's what I have to say.
I love that you framed that up essentially with, this is all encompassing. It's all cyclical. It all feeds off of each other, and it not forces. The curiosity is the big piece. Curiosity, absolutely, to think about how to get out of the tunnel vision and think about what else you could be doing or what's attached to what you could be doing. I love it.
If you need, if you want to apply for the career fair and you want somebody to look over a resume or, I don't know, give you some advice, I'd be happy to do so. I'll send Dale the slides and those links. Let me know how I can be of help. And again, you know, my answers aren't the only answers. They're not, there's no right way of doing it, but I'll give you a different perspective if you need one.
Well, and I think that's the big thing, is that there is no one right answer. And again, I go back to, I'm just very deeply appreciative that you've offered us this last bit of time, because I'm sure this is happening across the country, but locally here in Kansas City, we've had the opportunity to experience a number of people come into our group with, I mean, just the initial curiosity of what is Salesforce, but then also start to grow and succeed in it, to start to pay it forward. But it started with that curiosity of, I have a cousin, I have a brother-in-law, I have a whoever that they do Salesforce and I need to do something different. So how can I get into it? You've been in this for years and you're definitely on the giving end of it. So it's awesome I can't say enough words to say how great it is and how appreciative I am that you're doing this, because we will continue, COVID or not, to have people who are in the position of needing to seek either their first or their next role, and Salesforce being largely attached to it. So definitely thank you for that. I do have a couple of questions, but as always, I want to, if anybody else has questions, you all go first. I only have two. So if anybody has any questions, fire away.
I see Sandy had a question about having a headset. Does a headset matter? Yes, and I don't have any headset advice other than you want to have, you want to invest in a microphone, headset. It can be a combination or it could be a standalone mic. Do not use the built-in mic and speakers from your laptop. That is my one piece of advice. The experience will be awful for you and for the interviewer on the other end. It just, the microphone on the laptop is devised to pick up any sounds in the room and then override whatever else is trying to be happening. So yeah, just get something else as your microphone, and that would be my best advice.
One thing I would recommend on that, I've used for years, I stupidly broke the cord on it and haven't replaced it yet, but Logitech makes, I think it's $40. It's a USB wired one that it's the headphone and the speaker, but it has the mic or the mute button on the cord. So instead of fumbling through whatever app you're using, if you leave yourself unmuted on the app, and then just, and it has a light on it that if it's on, you're on. If it's blinking, you're muted, but you have that control right there. If you're not talking, you can mute yourself. As soon as it's time to talk, you hit the button. You're not fumbling through the app. It's USB wired, so you don't have to worry about any wireless connection. Yeah, to Stu's point, it is an investment. It's how much do you want or feel you need to invest in, but anything is better than the hardware I'm using right now. Obviously, I'm not case in point of using a headset. I'm not doing that. So $40 at Amazon or Office Max or whatever. So if nobody has any questions, I'll throw mine out there, because we're also getting close to the top of the hour, and that's usually when we have people drop. So again, Stu, very appreciative of all of this from the perspective of those who are in a position to need to go to the career fair, either for first job, new job, whatever it may be. For what would you have to say of all the content that you just gave? What would those of us who aren't seeking, what would you say we should be doing with our resume, with potentially our practice interview, with our LinkedIn, with our Trailblazer community profile, with any of those? On one hand, so that it, like, what does maintenance look like? And then on the other hand, because, I mean, COVID, 2020, there will be some things that if we ever get to a new normal, 2020 will have changed that new normal. Will we get back to having in-person interviews, or will it be entirely digital? Will our resume switch from being paper, PDF, Word, whatever, to LinkedIn or a community, whatever? What would be your tips for those of us who aren't currently seeking, but to be prepared at a moment's notice?
Yeah. I'm no futurist, so I'm not going to tell you what the future is going to be. But I will make reference to Amy Oplinger Singh, which this will be the second reference to her in this call. Salesforce Amy. She had a talk that I was able to glean from her, something that she also does. And that's, even if you don't update your resume, I would say you should be keeping a kudos file. This is something that I do regularly. In my kudos file, I keep emails or notes of people that say that I've done a good job. And maybe this is me and just my own personal imposter syndrome, that I need to keep things that feel good to me, close to me. But I'll keep those. And also after I do any sort of project, I will note that in a journal, sort of resume work history style, just to say, hey, okay, I completed this Sales Cloud implementation. It was for 400 users. It took 4 months to do. It resulted in, I don't know, make up a dollar, $50,000 in revenue. And I worked on it with these people. And I'll put that in my projects file, completed projects file, and I have that. So that if I get laid off or something happens down the road, updating my resume in the future is not going to be that hard, because I can look back in my kudos file, in my completed projects file, and I can say, yeah, oh, look at all this stuff that I actually have done over the last 3 years. I completed all these projects, and I've got the metrics around what they were and what they meant to the business. So I've got actual numbers that represent how many users were affected or how much impact it had. So I'm constantly doing that.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. My other question, so going back to showcasing your trailhead badges and certifications and all of that, because in the Salesforce space, that is your currency basically. I want to ask the quality versus quantity question.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, did I just break you?
Oh, well, this question comes up then.
What's
yeah, what does it matter? Yeah, well, when I was laid off in 2015, I had 0 certifications, and it was sort of not verbally said, but sort of understood that was one of the reasons why I was laid off. And so I went about getting my certifications, and then I sort of got in a rhythm, and I haven't stopped. So then the question becomes, does having 22 certifications matter more than having 6 certifications? At this point in time, when I do interviews, having 22 certifications, it's actually a negative. I perceive it to be a negative.
Okay.
Because they the interviewer will look at 22 certifications and say, "Oh, you're one of those people. You're a test taker." Well, does that mean you have experience, or are you just
book smart or street smart?
Are you just a test hoarder? And then I have to go through the whole, well, if you look at the experience of the projects that I've done and the people that I've influenced, I guess I have both, but maybe I shouldn't have taken all those tests and done all those certifications.
So I actually did not anticipate you going down the certification route. I was thinking more on the trailhead side of things. So because certifications, there is a barrier to entry. You have to pay to take the certification. You potentially have to pay for the training for the certification. And for some people that's not feasible. You can get vouchers. There's a number of ways to get through that, but there is an inherent barrier to entry. Trailhead is 100% free. Would you say that when we think about quality versus quantity, because on one hand, you have people who've taken all 800 badges for free, with the exception of the time put into it, there was no money out of pocket to do that. But knowing that some of those badges, like there's super badges in there, what would you say for somebody who's maybe trying to interview for their first job or potentially the next job? Which is more valuable, having however many 100 certs or the ranger status or anything? Is it, okay, you went through the super badges, so there was some hands-on element there. Are the project badges potentially even more valuable? how would you sort out the quality versus quantity on the trailhead side of things, because it is free and readily available to everyone?
That's a good question. Sorry, I'm also helping a 9-year-old put his shoes on.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. You're all good, man. We all have the interns. We have the coworkers. Hashtag 2020.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, you know, that's a
Okay, John, we're ready.
that is a question that you have me stumped a little bit there. I haven't put a whole lot of thought into that.
I've kind of have the same issue. I don't put all my super badges on there. I'm like, I don't put as much credit into that as maybe I should. I like my certifications, but the super badges and the badges, a lot of those I look at and I think, you know, a lot of this was classic and it doesn't apply anymore. A lot of this was just, I don't know. When I see a whole bunch of badges, I don't like it. I don't think it, I think it's misrepresenting yourself. Almost to your point about all those certifications. I'm kind of ashamed of the amount of badges, which is odd because first thing I do if I run into something, I think I did that on Trailhead once, you know, so I use it, but I think it's, I don't know for what it's worth.
Yeah, it's hard because the last, and this is just again rabbit hole, but last cert I got was Einstein Analytics, which I took the super set on that. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Was the super badge for Einstein, and it forced me to have to learn a ton. I really love Trailhead for figuring out a specific thing and then learning about that. It was almost harder to do the super badge than to take the certification. Can I say that out loud without getting in trouble?
No,
Oh my
super
God.
badge
Dude,
is
you've
stuck
been on
to,
so many calls with me where I've said stuff that I'm surprised I'm still allowed in this community. So you're
Yeah, I
fine.
think it's going to kick me out of a partnership. I mean, so I really love the super badges. But just getting, I don't know.
And
I'm not gonna stop people from learning and getting badges.
No, not at all,
That's
not at all.
good.
But thinking about from the hiring manager perspective, when what they have is a resume, what they have is bullet points, and yes, it's metrics, it's quantitative, but from what you have experienced, you know, what is the actual value of 400 badges versus 700 badges versus 20 badges, where 10 of those, let's say 10 of those, okay, I'll say 50 badges, where 7 of those are actually super badges and the prerequisites to get you to that 50. Does the 50 with 7 super badges, can it show up to the fight with 400 badges and potentially prove more valuable because they were super badges with some project work and critical thinking? Like in a pinch for a new entrant, like I've only had so much time to do Trailhead or whatever, but I learned a lot along the way, which can give this value to you, Mr. Hiring Manager, Miss Hiring Manager in your company. No, it's not 400, but the 50 I focused on, they got me Lightning, they got me reports and dashboards, they got me the core things for an admin to understand.
Yeah. So the question maybe is what gets you in the door? Because it's the explanation of, yeah, I got these 100 badges, but here, let me explain the Service Cloud badges and what I've done with Service Cloud since then, and all the stuff that I've set up, and I've set up CTI, and I've set up bots and all this stuff, and I learned all that stuff through my badges. But to get to that place where you can explain it, does showing those 100 badges, does that get you in the door? Does that help? No, that's a good question. I don't know.
I think it's more beneficial in terms of metrics and sheer numbers for people who aren't familiar with Trailhead to hear, oh, wow, 200 badges. And then you realize just how easy it is to get 200 badges if you really, really wanted to. I could finish Trailhead in a week, all 900 badges if I wanted to.
Right.
And I've seen people who have 2.5 times as many badges as I do, but the score is less than mine.
The points, yeah.
The points, yes, which tells me they're just going through and they're getting like 800, 900 modules and they're just guessing at the answers is what that's
Right.
telling me until they get it to pass and they're just brute forcing it.
Yeah,
Which is really easy
I'll
to
be
do. And
honest.
Trailhead doesn't block it. You know, they don't
Right.
rate limit you down.
I'll be honest, I don't know that the Trailhead mobile app really helped with that because it's so easy to just hit on your phone, click, click, click,
Yeah.
to get all right, great,
And
next.
Well,
even-
and they
even the super
promoted here's 20 badges you can get
Yeah, in 5 minutes.
by doing that. So I'm like, why would you promote that in your blog?
Yeah.
Of here's 20 badges you can get in 5 minutes.
And here's the other thing, even the super badges. So there's only one solution to every super badge, right? One very specific solution that Trailhead makes you do. So everyone has the same answer. People have walkthroughs of step by step, because when you run into issues with Trailhead, you go online and you're like, why the hell does this not validate? And you end up stumbling on basically the equivalent of an exam dump.
Exactly.
So to me, super badges are kind of not really useful. The only thing they're
hiring manager. So we know that.
Let me rephrase.
We know that.
The possession of the super badge isn't useful, but it's good for sparking the conversation to say, all right, tell me about Service Cloud since you have the Service Cloud super badge, or to inquire about case management. Like if someone doesn't have the Service Cloud one, I might not ask a question about case management. But if they do have it, I might start going down the, all right, tell me how you do case management, what you do with it, and all that sort of stuff. So it's kind of a jumping off point, but not necessarily an indication the person is actually knowledgeable in that area. It's a lead in more than a lead out. Now, if Salesforce wants to promote it as a lead out, where they say, if you have the Zoop badge, you know it, you're good.
Right.
Yeah, and I take the opposite and look at that.
I along those same lines, what you just said, you work on the super badge and I get so frustrated because there's more than one solution. There just is.
Oh yeah.
And I just, that's why I'm bald, man. And so you're just crazy with why this should work. This should work. And so you have to be so specific. I have had to. I wasn't gonna not get the super badge, right? I went to the dump. I went to the guy that showed you how to do it. It's like, oh, that's dumb, or why
I've heard
that?
super
But mainly
badge.
it was just I was just mad at the super badge.
I've heard them fail
I
because
get
of
it.
capitalization.
I know. Oh, but I get it. But that got me. It made me get in there and start doing it. So it is a lead in. Exactly. I echo that.
Yeah. So
ask the tough questions, Dale. Why?
It's my former journalism major, now BA hat. Sorry. We're 10 minutes past the hour and we have lost some people. Does anybody have any other questions for Stu? I know we lost Christi as well, but any final questions for Stu? Otherwise we'll wrap up. Okay. Again, I cannot say thank you enough for doing this, because I know we're probably going to have at least 2, 3, 4 people out of this meeting who will probably greatly benefit, not only from from the virtual career fair. I think everybody's going to benefit from what you presented on, but I think we'll have a handful here in Kansas City that will have the opportunity to go through the virtual career fair and potentially have a chance. So thank you so much. And yep, Stu has offered to review resumes. I'm here as well. Any of us are very willing to help out. So please feel free to reach out if there's anything that we can do along the way. As I usually close with, I hope everybody is doing as well as they can be. There is no set benchmark for doing well in these times. It's relative. It's all whatever you define it to be. I'm taking Salesforce off the table, but I'll keep Salesforce on the table as well. But more than happy to help, listen, whatever. If you need something, I'm more than happy to help. Jeff's more than happy to help. Stu, Daniel, anybody else. If there's anything that we can do to help continue to take care of each other as humans in this weird year, in the holiday season, through any of it, we got to take care of each other as people. So that's my ask. This is the last meeting of the year. It's been a really crazy year. Hopefully next year looks at least a little bit better. I know it's not going to just miraculously change on January 1st, but hopefully that gives us some optimism and looking forward. I wish you all an amazing holiday season, an amazing new year. January 12th, we'll have registration out here either tomorrow or early next week. I appreciate each and every one of you. And again, be as well as you can be. Don't let anybody tell you what well is supposed to be. Well is yours. So be that, and happy to help along the way. So thank you, everybody, and take care.